Welcome back, everyone, to the After Dark Film Society. We are your hosts. I'm Sunny.
I'm Ashley.
I'm B.
I'm Chloe.
Great start, everyone. This is our third episode, so hopefully you know how things are going by now. But if you don't, we are watching movies that the cast of Dead Poet Society were in because we are mentally ill. So today's episode, its theme is that humans are not our friends. And so we are going to be talking about White Fang, which stars Ethan Hawke and Jed the Wolf Dog, more importantly, and Muppets from Space, which has a few scenes with Josh Charles, so figure that was important to address as well. But we're going to start off with White Fang, which was a movie I campaigned to watch because it's a soft spot for me, this movie. I just want to get a show of hands, though, who in this call has read the Jack London novel White Fang?
I read like half of it in grade 6.
Okay.
I've not read it at all.
No, nothing.
Okay. So I have read the whole thing. It has been a few years, but this is based off of a novel written by Jack London. He's a famous kind of naturistic novelist. He had another novel called Call of the Wind, Call of the Wild. It's one of those. I didn't write it down, and I'm not looking it up now. That was also about dogs, and we're gonna get into that in a bit. But first, we're gonna kind of go through the movie, because it's pretty different from the novel because the novel predominantly follows the wolf dog White Fang, but they were like, we can't do that for the movie, I suppose. So they inserted Jack, played by Ethan Hawke, who has gone to Alaska to claim his dad's gold mine and fuck around in the Yukon territory. This is right at the end of the 1890s, like 1898, 1899. So Alaska's not a state. I guess just to open it up a little bit, I want to know generally how you all feel about this movie, like disregarding that it's an adaptation. How do you all feel about this movie? How do you feel about Ethan in this movie?
Like, I liked it. I enjoyed it. It had a warm ending, even though he was low-key a little stupid at the end, for giving everything up to just live in the woods with this dog, which I mean, like, whatever floats your boat. But as far as like the movie as a whole, I really liked it. It's very quintessential for the time.
Yeah, I don't know. I think I liked it. I guess I've never really considered the end if I thought that was like the right choice on his part or not. But now that I think about it, like choosing to live alone in the woods for the rest of your life doesn't sound like the great choice, but
Speak for
I don't think
yourself.
it was that bad not knowing not knowing like any other context but this film.
Living alone in the woods with a dog with no one around me sounds like the peak life. That is like what I want to do. I never want to see people again. To each their own, though. But to get into, I guess, the plot of the movie, Chloe, he climbs up a big hill, doesn't he?
A huge hill, very snowy, very cold.
And he meets two guys at the top of this hill, who knew his dad, who are on their way to bury another dead friend. And he says, can I tag along? They say yes. But Jack, he's not exactly an experienced wilderness expert. And I guess when we get to White Fang as a puppy, I won't it kind of starts with White Fang's mom, like it does in the novel. It starts with her giving birth to him, and then she and Jack and the crew kind of cross paths a time or two before she gets shot and dies. Was everyone sad about the dog death?
I think if you
Yes.
weren't, you're kind of meh.
That's just part of life sometimes, is getting a bullet in the gut.
God, I wish that were me.
So, like I mentioned, Jack's story is not really, it's kind of in the novel. It kind of takes from a few different characters, but he's not, the way he is in the movie is not really what's portrayed in the book. Because the book really, like, from the perspective of White Fang, it's about like the wilderness and the animal kingdom, how ruthless it is, but it's also about how ruthless humanity is and how it's like just as violent as wild animals. And how, us humans, we think we have, morality and wild animals don't. Like they just do things out of their instinct, but like humans have their instinct as well. We behave in similar ways. It's just we see ourselves as, the top of the food chain, and dogs, even wolves, can't really see themselves that way. They're all about survival. Do you guys think that theme came across in the movie, or do you think that it kind of just got lost in Ethan Hawke falling into an ice lake and almost freezing to death?
Very bad.
I would say it got lost because I feel like I guess I didn't pick up on that
I see it
at
in
all.
the second episode we've got with dog fighting. They had the dog fighting ring.
Yes, yeah. So that
Human driven.
the dog fighting is also in the novel. It's kind of a similar thing where a character comes and saves White Fang from the dog fighting. But White Fang does start off with indigenous people. I don't know the exact tribe name, otherwise I would say. But this was in like the Yukon territory. So B, I don't know if you have any information regarding that because you are our local, or not local, but our token Canadian.
I'm not too sure. Usually, like, people up that north tend to be Inuk, but I could be completely wrong about that.
But yeah, so the character in the book, his name is Whedon Scott, which is a great name. And uh, tell me if this sounds different than to the ending of the movie, which is that Whedon Scott saves White Fang, and then he leaves the Yukon Territory and brings White Fang with him to San Francisco to live in his apartment. And then White Fang kills an intruder and then has a bunch of babies with a sheepdog. How
Oh,
would you say that ending differs from what happens in the movie?
Yeah, very, yeah.
it's like the complete opposite of what happens in the movie.
Well, I just think like um one of the reasons, so in the movie, when I know I'm jumping around a lot here, I'm kind of just trying to get as much of it out as I can. But, when White Fang and Jack are finally together, Jack tames him and they become like best friends. And then Alex, one of the men that Jack like found the gold mine with, he's like, you can't stay up here forever, and me and my girlfriend are gonna go run a hotel back in San Francisco, and we would like you to come with. But if you're gonna come with, you're gonna have to leave the dog behind because a wolf dog can't live in San Francisco. And so there's this really emotional scene where Jack is, has to let White Fang go. You know, he uses a stick to scare him off, which is like triggering to White Fang, of course, who is in a dog fighting ring. And then he leaves. And then you guys alluded to it earlier, but what happens seconds before Jack gets on the boat to go back to San Francisco? He turns around.
So, I mean, it's kind of hilarious because his cabin was straight up set on fire, and so he really doesn't have much to like go back to if he doesn't leave to go to San Francisco. But that damn dog, man, that damn dog,
Damn dog in that damn gold mine.
you got
Mind you,
to
he had
him.
to like rebuild the whole cabin by himself, which
Oh, okay.
he did
Let's talk
earlier
about
in the movie.
let's
Yeah,
talk about
with
why his cabin burnt down because it was kind of a strange set of circumstances. But someone kind of go through that plot point. How does the cabin get burnt down?
The most random revenge plot. Um, Something to do with the dogfighting ring. I can't remember exactly what. Um, I think one of the guys involved took it really personally that they took the wolf off him. Then they just decided to take some guns and then go on a murder spree in the cabin, which didn't work. And they
It
tried to
was
set it on fire.
So it was one of the dogfighting people saw Jack and White Fang go to the bank with their gold, and he was like, "Holy shit, that kid with that took our dog has gold, so we should go smoke him out." And so they throw like a grenade or something into their house and get them out, and then start shooting at them, which is
yeah,
not funny.
it's like
Low
out
key
of
though,
everything that happens so far in the film is
It is
like
a I would say for the most part, this movie's very chill. Like it isn't it's not an action movie. Like it's a lot of like walking around, which I think, you know, being adapted from a novel that is from a dog's perspective, who, you know, their whole mission is just survival. I kind of am okay with the movie just being these people are walking around and it's mostly chill. This is like the most action I mean, it's the climax, so of course it's the most action, but it goes from 0 to 100 pretty quickly. Go to set the house on fire. But how do they Chloe, go on. How do they get out of that situation?
I don't remember. I think it was the dog. I think it was White Fang.
It was the dog. He like bit them. Yeah, and then that was kind of the end of it. I assume they get arrested. And then Alex is like, Jack, you gotta go back to San Francisco with us. This is important. It's important for you to I don't know why I'm giving him a like country accent because he's
The
anyway.
city boy.
You want to talk about the bear?
I completely forgot about the bear.
yeah, I was gonna say
You
I don't
missed
even
that
remember the
bear.
bear.
I have a whole section in my notes about the bear. This is one of the most important parts. So at one point, Alex and Jack stop off with the indigenous people. I don't know why I said it like that. With the indigenous people who have their settlement there, and White Fang is working there. He's a work dog. And a bear shows up, and this bear takes like a real liking to Jack. And what was your guys' takeaway from the bear?
But I would still rather be in the woods with a bear than a man.
Fair.
Hiding like in the log pile while White Fang like fought the bear off.
And White Fang snarled, and that scared the 600-pound bear away from the 100-pound wolf that he could just flop on and suffocate.
Didn't try and
Do
tame the
you
bear. He tamed the wolf, but he wouldn't tame the bear.
guys? I mean, he could have. He could have. You guys want to know about the bear actor?
Yes, of course.
Yes.
Okay, so his name's Bart.
Bart.
He was a Kodiak bear. So Kodiak's an island off of Alaska. I don't know who in this call is familiar. There's like I don't even know what you would call it, like a grain company called Kodiak. They make like pancake mixes, and
Okay.
on the box there's a bear, and he is the Kodiak bear on the pancake mix.
Oh,
He's a very famous bear actor. Not only very famous, very his filmography is insane, but also every person who's ever worked with Bart the Bear has said he's like the best actor they've ever worked with. Because
I love
he's so well trained and he's so chill. Like this is a 700-pound bear that's like, 8 feet tall or whatever. And everyone's like, yeah, he's just a big old friend.
he's
If
super
dangerous,
fan.
why friend shaped. My follow-up to that is Jed, the wolf dog. I talked a bit the other day about Jed with you guys, maybe last night. Jed is the wolf dog that plays White Fang. He was also our have who here has seen John Carpenter's The Thing?
me.
He plays the dog in the camp that turns into the Thing.
Huh. The more you know.
And he was also the dog in Natty Gann, which Ashley wants us to watch.
Yes.
And then there was a sequel to this movie, White Fang 2 to White Fang for me. Um, we're not gonna watch it because it stinks. But he reprised his role in that as White Fang, where I believe at the end of that movie he fathers a litter. But sadly, those four movies are the only ones that Jed was in. He was in those four movies, and he passed away in 1995 at 18 years old,
Holy moly.
Oh my god.
Oh,
which apparently, so in this movie, he was probably, 13 or 14 years old.
Yeah,
And like,
wow.
holy shit, that is the healthiest 13, 14-year-old dog I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah,
who's
that's
doing
actually
that?
crazy.
Yeah. My dogs are 13 and they're pretty healthy, but like you can tell that they are not, this dog was supposed to be playing like a 2-year-old and was running around doing stunts and stopping people from shooting his owner and shit. And he was a 13-year-old wolf dog. So yeah, I just wanted to shout out Jed. I think he was the goated wolf dog, dog actor.
Oh, 100%.
R.I.P. Just to get on track with Ethan before I am gonna get into a bit of a tangent. Um, but Ethan, this was one of his first roles after doing Dead Poet Society. He has Robin Williams's agent as his agent. He's going to do like every single movie in the 90s after this. What did you guys like? What did you guys think of him in this? Do you think he's like better in this? Do you think he's developed as an actor? What are the thoughts?
I think he was believably stupid in the beginning. Bringing a bag of books up a mountain, and then being surprised when the guys were like, "Why are you bringing a sack of books up a mountain with us and not burning them on the fire to keep us from freezing to death?" I did appreciate that aspect.
Know if he was
Does
acting
naivety
in those
wow.
scenes. All right, and the other two.
I mean, I thought it was really good. Like I thought he was quite strong in the movie. Like it very much is like you can see the projection of him like becoming, how do you want to say, like a fixture in Hollywood, I suppose.
Movie star.
Yeah, like you can tell like Dead Poets wasn't just like a one-off really good.
Mhm.
Like I think he was really strong in it, especially because a lot of the movie was just like him and a dog, which is
Hard to fuck up.
not even that. It's just like it must be hard to like act with a dog, you know,
Yeah.
where
I
you have to
mean,
do a lot of the heavy lifting.
Jed was apparently a very good scene partner. I think Ethan said that in an interview that whenever he works with animals, they're often his favorite scene partners because they're so like professional. But Jed especially was but and also a lot of this movie was shot, to my knowledge, on location. It's not
Yeah,
like a set or green screen or anything. Like they're there. Um, and I
yeah.
think
I
that
saw a lot of behind the scenes photography, and it looked like really cool. Like it looked hard, like
they would
terrain.
never, I mean, they would shoot this like in Atlanta on a sound stage today. They're not sending Ethan Hawke up into the wilderness anymore.
Jump in an ice cold lake.
Yeah, for real. Ashley, what about you? What do you think of Ethan?
Yeah, you can definitely tell like he's a little more comfortable almost, and that's beside the fact of like Todd's character is naturally uncomfortable all the time. But like you can definitely see like he's growing more into himself as an actor and is more confident in what he's doing almost in this.
Mhm. Yeah, I agree. I think, you know, I don't know how much like in reviewers, how much they praised him for playing Todd Anderson the way he did, but like Robin Williams saw something in him enough to call his agent and say, be this kid's agent, of all of them. And like that obviously gave him a million more opportunities. Some of them are dog shit, but ironically, this one is not.
Now this one, I'd say it's like a solid movie. Like it still holds up because we've
Okay.
watched some absolute stinkers. So,
Yeah. I mean,
um,
this one, like I said, like I watched it a long time ago, and it's just I know deep in my heart it's not a five-star movie, but it has the vibes of a five-star movie.
yeah,
Like
I
it
think
just
also it's just like
feels
it's just like a little bit of the details, but as a whole, like it's nostalgic. It's a good movie. And I
yeah.
did a little bit of research while we were
Oh,
talking earlier to figure out, this is like really like getting down into semantics, but I did look up who in like the indigenous people of the Yukon area would be.
oh
And
yes.
I guess there are 6 principal tribes in the Yukon, as well as Métis and some Inuk people who have mostly migrated to like Northwest Territories and Nunavut. But
Mhm.
it's there are 6 principal tribes and many other smaller groups and languages, so it would be quite hard to figure out um,
Sure.
where. Although White Fang's mother, her name comes from an Algonquian word.
Yeah, in the novel, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, so the main reason that like I'm sure Jack London also would not have known the intricate details of the Yukon Territory native tribes. Um, I didn't know if we had an idea, I would have liked to say their name because they didn't say the name in the movie and they didn't say the name in the book.
yeah.
So
So
give
like the primary ones would be, let's see here, the Han, the Pasadena, the Tagish, the Northern and Southern Tuchoni, and the Tlingit. So
yeah.
probably one of those.
Yeah. So one of them can claim
Yeah.
being the native tribe in White Fang 1990 or 1991. All right, thank you. That was very interesting. Thank you for that. Um, the last thing I want to get into, I texted you guys about this, but I fell down a bit of a rabbit hole about kind of Jack London and this book, and not really like the initial reception of it, but kind of some controversy that came about afterwards. Um, is anyone here familiar with the term nature faker?
I'm not.
Yeah, I'm not
Right.
either.
No.
So basically, in the early 1900s, there was this like escalating criticism against writers for essentially like romanticizing the wilderness and nature without any consideration for the difficulties that come from being in the wild. Um, and for some reason, President Theodore Roosevelt, who was a naturalist his whole life, he loved the woods. He started the national parks in the United States. He inserted himself into this newspaper drama about about uh this literary um this literary idea of nature faking, and he called out Jack London by name
Ooh.
and said that White Fang like wasn't a true representation of like the wilderness, and that it was romanticized. And in uh 1908, Jack London responded with an
Oh?
essay called The Other Animals. And I'm not going to read the whole thing because it's long, but I do want to read some of the lines from it and just kind of get your guys' response. This is on the Wayback Machine, by the way. I found it via Wikipedia, because he's pretty prominent in that. And so this first quote is from the Wikipedia page, but I'm going to go on and read some of the other paragraphs from it because this is like, have you ever like looked back at a piece of writing that's like pretty old, but like it when you kind of translate it into modern speak, it like reads like something you would find on Twitter?
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
This is that to me.
Like modern day shit posting.
It's like a it's not like a Notes app apology, but it's like a Notes app response.
Okay. Okay.
Okay. So, in the second paragraph of this, let's start reading that when I say I, this is Jack London speaking. I have been guilty of writing two books about dogs. The writing of these two stories on my part was in truth a protest against the quote unquote humanizing of animals, of which it seemed to me several quote unquote animal writers had been profoundly guilty. Time and again, and many times in my narratives, I wrote, speaking of my dog heroes, he did not think these things, he merely did them, etc. And I did this repeatedly to the clogging of my narrative and in violation of my artistic canons. And I did it in order to hammer into the average human understanding that these dog heroes of mine were not directed by abstract reasoning, but by instinct, sensation, and emotion, and by simple reasoning. Also, I endeavored to make my stories in line with the facts of evolution. I hewed them to the mark set by scientific research and awoke one day to find myself bundled necked and cropped into the camp of the nature fakers.
Ooh.
Oh.
Um, so that paragraph spoke to me because I think it would speak to you guys as well, because we're all writers and we all know like our characters are supposed to have purpose, they're supposed to have a drive to them. And when he says like writing a character, these dogs who they don't have that. It's just their instinct. It's just what they're supposed to do without like, a conflict reason. Like that is in violation of artistic canon. That is like the opposite of what we're told to do. You don't just have a character do something because that's their instinct.
It almost like the criticism gives because in like a little side note, we had a Canadian author, Farley Mullet, who is a well beloved author, and he wrote a lot about Canadian wilderness, especially up north. And he had one called "Never Cry Wolf," which I can't remember much of it, but I know I had to read it in school. It almost has the same kind of vibe as White Fang, but it was published in the 50s, and there was a review equating it to having the same amount of factual content as Little Red Riding Hood, so it kind of feels similar.
Yeah, so in this next part he is this is where shots get fired at President Teddy Roosevelt, um, who named the teddy bear, or was named the teddy bear is named after him.
Mhm.
President Roosevelt was responsible for this, his bundle neck and cropped into the camp of nature fakers. And he tried and condemned me on 2 counts. 1, I was guilty of having a big fighting bulldog whip a wolf dog. 2, I was guilty of allowing a lynx to kill a wolf dog in a pitched battle. Regarding the second count, President Roosevelt was wrong in his field observations taken while reading my book. He must have read it hastily, for in my story, had the wolf dog kill the lynx. Not only did I have my wolf dog kill the lynx, but I made him eat the body of the lynx as well. So, like, President Roosevelt just doesn't fucking know what he's talking about, which is hilarious. Um, going
Very
on.
much ratioed.
Yeah, he got ratioed on that one because he just got it wrong. Remains only the first count on which to convict me of nature faking, and the first count does not charge me with diverging from ascertained facts. It is merely a statement of a difference of opinion. President Roosevelt does not think a bulldog can lick a wolf dog. I think a bulldog can lick a wolf dog. And there we are. Difference of opinion may make and does make horse racing. I can understand that difference of opinion can make dogfighting. But what gets me is how difference of opinion regarding the relative fighting merits of a bulldog and a wolf dog makes me a nature faker and President Roosevelt a vindicated and triumphant scientist.
Ooh.
My jaw is on the floor.
Yeah, he
Ooh.
was in this.
This is yeah, he was not taking any prisoners. He was this if you're listening to this and you're interested in reading, I mean this whole thing is just an absolute takedown of this argument that Jack London is a nature faker. And the last here's the last one that I want to read. Is also an attack of President Roosevelt, attacking his knowledge. He says, now President Roosevelt is an amateur. He may know something of statecraft and of big game shooting. He may be able to kill a deer when he sees it and to measure it and weigh it after he has shot it. He may be able to observe carefully and accurately the actions and antics of Tom Tits and Snipe, and after he has observed it, definitely and coherently to convey the information of when the first chipmunk in a certain year and a certain latitude and longitude came out in the spring and chattered and gamboled, but that he should be able, as an individual observer, to analyze all animal life and to synthesize and develop all that is known of the method and significance of evolution would require a vaster credulity for you or me to believe than is required for us to believe the biggest whopper ever told by an unmitigated nature faker. No, President Roosevelt does not understand evolution, and he does not seem to have made much of an attempt to understand evolution.
Oh my god.
He called him an empty-headed
Do you
trophy
guys
hunter.
do you
He
guys see
emptied the
why
magazine. He emptied the entire clip. Like,
he he was using fighting words here. Again, if you want to read this, he talks later about actually how he had um personal like knowledge of wolf dogs because he owned a dog whose dad was a wolf dog. So he had half a wolf dog. And he talks about like the behavior that this dog um showed and kind of how he used the behavior of that dog and that inspired parts of the novel and how some of it aligns with what the science says and some of it doesn't and like it's just a very interesting read. Again, it is on the Wayback Machine, but I think there's something that doesn't I don't think it's properly addressed in this conversation of nature faking, quote unquote, which is like I don't think that every time someone writes about nature, it is like literal. I think that a lot of times when people write about nature, it is supposed to be a reflection of emotion and feeling as opposed to like, when Robert Frost said two roads diverge in a wood, like that's he doesn't mean that literally, but President Roosevelt would be like, actually, they can't diverge in a wood. That's not how it works.
and also at
One
the
thing
core of it, like a lot of these books are entertainment. And so with any form of entertainment, there's a degree of sprucing it up, if you will,
Yeah.
especially when it comes to nature, because the reality of nature is brutal. You will probably die. So
Mhm. Yeah,
you
there
got to
is
keep
a bit
some,
of
yeah.
there's a bit of like suspension of disbelief that I mean we do with all fiction. Like that's why it's fiction. It's an elevation of our reality. There are things that happen in movies that we know probably wouldn't happen in real life, but it's a movie and it needs to happen for the story. And so I don't like that's kind of something I didn't see kind of looking into it that anyone really talked about was that nature, especially in like poetry, is often a metaphor and is not supposed to be taken literally. And these people just got their panties in a twist over nothing. So I hope you enjoyed that tangent.
No, very good tangent,
um,
very necessary tangent.
yes. I think I've definitely gone. Yes, I have gone way over time. I'm so sorry. Ashley, take it away with Muppets from Space.
Perfect. Okay, so yeah, I'm gonna be leading us through Muppets from Space, which, just to mention, is one of my favorite movies from when I was a kid. My dad worked at the local drive-in when it was playing, and he, like, took the poster from the movie and has had it up in our house since, like, just as normal decorations, so big part of my life, but I never realized Josh Charles was in it until, obviously, when you go down the rabbit hole of, "Okay, what other movies have these Dead Poet Society boys done?" And it gets kinda crazy, but obviously we'll have to jump into the plot, so does anyone wanna try to explain what happens in Muppets from Space?
Is Gonzo? What is Gonzo? Why
Gonzo
is
is
Gonzo?
scared of Noah's Ark.
Yes, it does open with him having a nightmare about being refused to get on Noah's Ark, which is honestly kind of hilarious, that they were like, "We don't know what kind of animal you are, so you can't get on."
Thing.
he uses his cereal to his family history, and it tells him it's in space.
Yes, they say look to the sky or watch the sky. His cereal spells itself out and says watch the sky. So basically the movie is just Gonzo having an existential crisis about who he is and why he exists. And
And
he's like,
also, insane cameos just keep happening the whole
yeah,
time.
yeah, the whole time. But yeah, really it's Gonzo like tripping out. And the funnier part about it is like, yeah, the other Muppets are kind of turning ahead, but they're also just letting it happen. Like he keeps having manic episodes. One of them includes him getting struck by lightning and then talking to fish in space. Who they tell him that's when they tell him he's from space. And then he like uses the lawnmower to mow into the yard, I am here, to respond back to them. But where Josh comes in is he's an agent for an undercover like government agency that is trying to find other life forms out there. And he comes down to this news station that Gonzo's at talking about people in space. And he ends up like running into Miss Piggy and has mad beef with her. Does anyone want to talk about that?
Yeah, he punches Miss Piggy in the face.
Multiple times, yes, multiple times.
She and him get
Um,
into a big fight.
Yeah, well, they're both he says something about being a black belt in karate, and then she makes up, like, a belt that doesn't exist that's, like, higher
Bedazzled.
than that. And they're, like, both showing off their karate skills. She goes on to call him Stud Muffin, which is iconic, and then they
He
just straight up fist fight each other while also flirting with each other.
Oh, they wanna fuck.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. At least Josh does, for sure, based on the way he treats her in that scene.
And
And
Miss
then
Piggy hits him in the dick at least twice, so that's how you
yes.
know it's a good movie.
Yes, and then she ties him up and lays him down on a table and gets him to spill all the guts about this government agency and what they wanna
Absolutely,
do with Gonzo.
absolutely incredible meme potential,
Yeah,
this scene where he's tied up like that, like, I is it gives 50 Shades.
yeah, he very quickly submits to Miss Piggy, which is kind of funny.
But I
I
mean,
would
who?
too.
Yeah, who wouldn't?
Yeah, so that's, like, literally the only,
That's
like,
it.
5 minutes that Josh is in, which is so funny because honestly it is such a good part of the movie, but when I was researching this movie, he was considered as one of, like, the famous cameos to bring in. Like, that's
What
why he was there.
what
I was
year
just
did this
thinking
come out?
it was, like, 90
I think it was
wow,
99.
99? Yes,
I'm
something.
trying to think because he was obviously in Dead Poet Society. He was in Pie in the Sky, obviously. He was in
Yeah,
Threesome, Don't Tell
the baby,
Mom.
yes.
This would have been the same year that Sports Night started, I think. So, like, I have no I I'm kind of surprised in a way. I shouldn't be surprised because he is, like, a prominent actor, but, like, I said his name in front of my parents years ago, and they were listing off things that I had never heard of him being in, and I was like, "I how do you know who this man is?"
Like,
And
I not forget, I think people forget how relevant, like, Josh used to be, like, he honestly is probably one of the guys that was most successful after Dead Poets Society. It's crazy to
he
think
used
about.
to be.
That is
Yeah, he's
so
not anymore.
shady. Shady. The Good Wife is fairly recent, okay?
He was
How
in The Good
long
Wife,
ago did
which
that end, though? It's been at least 5 years since it ended.
oh, it's been 10 years since he stopped being on that show.
Yeah, so, like, the most recent thing
He's been
I
in
think he
other
genuinely
things.
did was the Taylor Swift music video, like, I'm not
No,
joking.
he was in Mother's Instinct, which was big on
You're
Netflix.
right. You're
He
right. He
was
just is, like, more low-key now, I guess, but
he was
they
in
were
he
a
was in a
heartthrob.
show on Hulu. I can't remember the name of it, but it was the Elizabeth Moss
Yeah, The
was the
Handmaid's
star of it.
Tale.
The
Yeah,
Veil. The Veil. I think I watched 2 episodes of it and got bored. But
yeah, he
yeah,
was
like
also in the other Elizabeth Moss show, The Handmaid's Tale.
he was in that?
Yeah, for like 4 episodes or something.
What?
Oh, wow.
When?
Yeah, this year.
What?
Yeah.
When?
Josh is just really good at appearing in things when you least expect it,
A
for sure.
currently airing season.
He just shows up in things. He's great at he is for as much shit as I give him for the everything that he does on Twitter, which we're not. He is like a really good actor. It's just funny, like in 1999, even, you know, that's just 10 years after Dead Poets Society. He's 27. And he was like, they considered him a really big inclusion. I mean, who else is in that movie? Hulk Hogan.
Yeah, Hulk Hogan,
Ray
Ray
Liotta.
Liotta. Yeah, they had the like Joshua, what's his name from Dawson's Creek with Katie Holmes. I think her
Mhm.
name is. I wrote them down somewhere. Yeah, Katie Holmes and Josh Jackson. David Arquette is in it, which this
David
is
Arquette.
his prime almost too.
You mean David Arquette, the dad from the hit 2005 movie, The Adventures of Shark Boy and Lava Girl 3D?
Oh my
Yeah.
god, he doesn't want to let her go.
Yeah.
And also Jeffrey Tambor was in there.
Andy
Yeah,
McDowell.
there's hundreds of people. Like, so I learned this last night too, and I guess I can kind of see it, but I've never considered it. People don't really like this movie. They think it was very bad, but also as a big Muppets fan, I feel like that is not something you could say if you've seen like Muppets Wizard of Oz, or I think it's like Muppets Very Merry Christmas, and like Whoopi Goldberg is like in heaven and is like an angel. It's very, both of those movies compared to this one, I don't see how people could hate on this one, I guess you could say.
My understanding is that when this movie came out, it did not do very well and was not reviewed well, but that it's kind of like in the Muppets fandom has kind of gotten a new life as people being like, "Oh, this is silly, and goofy, and maybe it's not like the best movie, but like it's a lot of fun." Didn't like it's a fucking Muppets movie. Are you like
Yeah.
why are you trying to grade this like it's Citizen Kane?
People are learning you don't have to overanalyze everything and that you're allowed to have fun.
No, because
Yeah.
that's the point of the Muppets is they are whimsy and fun, and nobody wants that anymore. They want like these amazing, like intense movies, and it's like, no, I want Gonzo talking to fish in space. That's what I want.
Like I think when the Muppets came back, quote unquote, in the early tens, with the Muppets, the movie. Like even I mean that movie was goofy and silly, but I remember people being like, this is a return to form for the Muppets. Like this is the right amount of silly. And so I don't know if in 1999 they were just like, this is too silly, or like they thought it was too like childlike, because you know in the 70s the Muppets, like the Muppet Show, was
Oh,
for grown-ups. um and so not that it was like risque or anything, like they weren't showing Kermit's dick and balls or anything, but like
mm.
it just it it was a lot more adult comedy. You know, they had um like John Cleese was on that show, like people that like your grandparents would know off the rip. But I think maybe by 1999, like I don't know if they got to it. I don't know at what point the Muppets stopped being for adults and it started being for kids, I guess is what I'm trying to say. And that like maybe that transition as it happened, grown-ups started to lose their whimsy and were like, this Gonzo guy doesn't deserve his own movie, which like, shut up.
That's interesting because I
Thing
always
with
thought the
this
Muppets was for the family. That's how it's portrayed to me growing up, but obviously I wasn't around in 1999, so can't speak to the transition.
I would definitely
Hmm.
say it's a family show, but what I saw when researching the movie a little bit is a lot of people had beef with this movie, and this made me laugh is because it was the first Muppets original movie that didn't include like their own original songs or the Muppets themselves performing. And I don't think I've ever noticed that, which shocked me a little bit because it's true in a sense. Like they
Oh,
just
I'm
stuck with like a phenomenal soundtrack, mind you. But like they didn't have like Kermit singing himself an original song or something. And Kermit's not even really a big part of this movie at all. Just the whole time he's kind of like, what the hell's wrong with Gonzo? And that's about it.
He is leading the charge and saving Gonzo, but yeah, like he's
Yeah.
not the main character. That is interesting what you're saying though about like, I guess you're right that it is more of a family show in kind of it had kind of quote unquote hidden adult jokes that like kids wouldn't understand but parents would, and that would make them like it. But then like I for some reason I had it in my head that the Gonzos, when they come down in the spaceship at the end, I thought they had a song, but maybe I forgot, or it I made it up in my head.
I don't
Um,
think it was original. I think they just sang like a cover of
but what was
something.
it a cover of?
Let me look it up. I mean, by the time I got to the end of this movie last night, it was like 1 a.m. Um, but let me look it up quick.
I guess like that is interesting that there was no musical number and people were like ticked about that. Like Kermit didn't bust out his banjo. Um, because then I think the like newer Muppet movies in the last decade were full on musicals. Whereas like I think the original Muppet movies had like, I don't want to say they weren't musicals, but they had like a song here and there. It was like every, 30 minutes they would sing a song. But then I remember big dance numbers happening in the newer ones.
So they sing a cover of Shining Star, the You're a Shining Star, no matter who you are. That's what they sing. That's like all they perform, really.
Like, I don't think this movie needs that. Like, I think, you know,
I don't
in a
think it needs
way,
the Muppets can do whatever the hell they want. That's what I think.
well, I mean, yeah, I mean, Jim Henson's creations like could kill my whole family in front of them, and I'd still say I love them. But like, I think this movie doesn't need, like, okay, in the first Muppets movie, they're going on a road trip to Hollywood so that Fozzie can have his big break. And they go across the country and they meet all their friends along the way. And, part of that is like the songs represented like the travel in between. So it wasn't just, 5 uninterrupted minutes of
Yeah.
like driving vlog. But I don't really think that this movie would need something like that. I guess unless they wanted like an I Want song from Gonzo. But like I don't know. I think
For
he
sure.
I don't think this movie needs that. I think there is enough kind of I think there's enough packing it that it doesn't need that kind of buffer that those songs usually are to support the rest of the plot.
It's an action comedy as well, so taking the genre into account,
Mhm.
wouldn't expect
Yeah.
that to be a musical. But also, this might not be the original tagline, but on Letterboxd, it's got space, it's not as deep as you think, the movie tagline.
That's great.
So,
I mean, it
it's
is.
not deep. It's 90 minutes of fun and whimsy.
Exactly. And like that's kind of the whole point, like when you take into consideration like the cameos anyways. Like it's really just a bunch of huge hit actors at the time coming in kind of having fun with it a little bit.
They're
Like I'm
being
like
in a
her
Muppets
name.
movie.
Yeah, there's like the female police officer that ends up getting like attacked by Animal and then she's like in love with him.
And
Mhm.
also, that's Kathy Griffin of all people, and I feel like
Yeah, I was blanking on her name. Sorry. I knew it was I had it right there. And that's during the like they use a rubber ducky that sprays something on him that makes him invisible. Like there's nothing serious about this movie at all.
and I think at the core of it, like why it's probably like getting a resurgence, or just like the Muppets in general, is because people are learning that it's not that deep. You can have fun. Movies can be fun. Movies don't have to like mean anything. Great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Think like, I absolutely agree with it's not all that deep. Some movies can just be fun. But even at the core of this, like, it is a lot of fun, but like there is a really sweet like story about, wanting to know who you are and where you come from, but that, who you are and where you came from doesn't equate to finding your family, that your family is about the people around you who love you. And it's really evident to Gonzo by the end that, like, his friends who have been running around concerned for him the whole time is his family. And, like, I think that, it's not just a good message for kids, but, like, I think even being able to put in a theme like that in such a silly movie and for it to pay off in the end, like that, I think that's really impressive. I don't know if people at the time thought that that was like hokey. I thought it was effective.
Yeah, and I think found family is one of the most like universal types of movies that people can relate to, no matter who you are. Because like, if you think about it, like Dead Poet Society, that features like a found family, if you will,
Found
and
father,
you found father, um,
found daddy.
found daddy. But I feel like any kind of like found family film. I like the alliteration. I think everybody can relate to some degree, especially for people who are marginalized or in marginalized communities. Like it's very important, and the Muppets has that healthy dose of like reality behind all these shenanigans.
I mean, that's kind of
Dude,
the
that's what's
whole
awesome. Yeah.
that's the whole thing. I mean, that Jim Henson did, across his whole, you know, his Muppetry is like everything that he does is essentially a found family. Bear in the Big Blue House, found family. I mean, they all live in the same house, but found
But they found
family.
each
With the
Like
other.
Muppets.
even like Sesame Street to an extent is, it's a big community who all come together and they learn and, they make mistakes, but they get back to it. And like that
I
is
think
so evident across his filmography. I don't think in any way it is like weird or like hokey for that to be the theme of the movie because that's kind of the theme of all of his movies to an extent.
yeah, and I feel like Sesame Street, if we want to call to like Sesame Street, that is like the perfect example of like teaching real topics, real issues, but in,
Mhm.
in a very like not necessarily silly, but like a lighthearted, like
Yeah. Oh my God,
palatable way.
I follow Elmo on Instagram, and sometimes I see his posts and I cry because
Same.
he's like, Elmo loves you. Elmo knows you're having a hard day, but Elmo is really proud of you. And I'm like,
Unless you're
thank you,
Rocco.
Elmo.
Unless you're Rocco, in that case, Elmo will hit you on sight.
Yeah.
Yeah. But no, I agree. Especially like I was not as big a Sesame Street kid as I was Muppets, but like it's very nostalgic for me, I guess. And
Yeah.
all of those movies, even the ones that are questionable, like for example, Muppets Wizard of Oz, people hate that movie and I love it. I've always loved that movie, but they still carry like their same spirit in a sense. And they're still funny. Like last night, yeah, I was a little delirious and it was late, but I was like laughing so hard at the movie. And not like I haven't seen it 100 times either, but I'm still like cracking up when you watch anything they do.
Yeah. It's the Muppets. Like there really is nothing else like it.
All of
Yeah.
these actors said, absolutely, I will sacrifice my time and be here for 5 seconds.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, when the Muppets call you and say, come be in our movie,
You go.
you stop what you're doing and you go and be in the Muppets movie. If you gotta like not pick up your kid from school, you're gonna go be in the Muppets movie because it's the fucking Muppets.
That's genuinely something that's on my bucket list. Not even necessarily being in a movie itself, but just like doing anything with at least one Muppet. Preferably Kermit, but
Oh,
that would be a life goal of mine.
What
oh,
about
there,
Crash Out
Ashley.
Kermit? Does he count?
What was that? I missed it.
What about Crash Out Kermit? Does he count?
Yes, literally anything.
Yeah, I'll crash out with Kermit. Well, thank you for listening. If you got all the way to the end, we appreciate that. Thank you for indulging in the madness, the mental illness on display between the four of us. We really appreciate it. You're talking about
Okay.
the Muppets.
Yeah, exactly.